Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to the first installment of True Talks, brought to you by Contruent. My name is Andy Verone, and I serve as the Chief Strategy Officer for Contruent. I will be your host for today's webinar. Today, I'm so excited to be joined by two colleagues, one in the past and one in currently. And I also think of these fellows as my friends as well. So Rich, Burchin, welcome to True Talks. Thanks for helping me kick off this webinar series. And with that, just a couple brief introductions from you, and we'll get started. Burchin, do you want to lead us off?
Sure. Thanks, Andy, for the invite. Great to see you, Rich. Excited to be actually talking to you guys. I think we have a lot to cover. We have a lot to talk about. And I think this is going to be fun.
Rich?
And yeah, again, thanks, Andy. I'm excited to be here at the first True Talks. We're going to be talking about this many years to come as the kickoff of what should be a pretty exciting span of series of events. By way of intro, I'm the Chief Product Officer here at Contruent, and I've been an industry technologist for about 20 years and in the industry for around 30 years in companies like the Army Corps of Engineers, Construction Research Lab, and Clark Construction, to name a few. So excited to be here and talk about this really interesting topic.
Thanks, guys. Rich and Burchin, I really appreciate you joining us, and I'm excited about this. Well, one last minute lineup change that we had, and these things are, they're hard to predict, even with the best laid out plans and schedule. For those of you joining, Dave Anderson. Dave's been a friend of mine for over 30 years. I've had the opportunity to work with Dave, alongside Dave. Dave was a customer of mine for a very long time as well. Dave had a last minute customer conflict, and he wasn't able to join us today, but he did help us with building the content, and Dave will join us on future True Talk. So appreciate him wanting to be part of this. Guys, if I think about the design criteria that we laid out for these, well, one, it's really to go deep. Let's go deep on a topic, and it's really your point of view. Right? It's your view of what's happening in an industry that the three of us are truly passionate about. I mean, I've been doing this for engineering construction for just a little over 40 years. Rich, you talked about your background. Birch and I had the opportunity to work together. We've had opportunity, colleagues and friends for a long time. So guys, really be authentic is really what we're after here. And Burchin, I was going to poke fun at you. You're in your autonomous vehicle driving into downtown Chicago. So you're definitely being authentic, my friend, and I appreciate that. And lastly, we want these to be brief. I think for us, we're just inundated with content. So these are going to be short. They're going to be conversation starters, and then we'll go ahead and continue those conversations on our various social channels. So everyone who's joined, big thank you. For those people who are joining us live, and then we'll have this obviously as a recording. Guys, let's get started. Burchin, it would be a miss on my part if I didn't ask the first question to you about the amazing event that you and your team hosted at the Oracle Industry Labs. It's the Contractor Cup Drone Challenge. On all accounts, everything I've seen on social, it was just what an amazing event. What are your takeaways from that event? And then how did we harness AI in that Drone Cup Challenge? Burchin, over to you.
So here's what we did. We hosted some pilots. We set some targets for data collection. And when I say data collection, they're flying the drones. And we originally based it on NIST standard. NIST has standards for data capture for drones, but we really modified the course. Again, we thought about, what criteria we are after. Time was one, but quality was as important or probably more important, because we also don't want to put pressure on them to data capture. So imagine this, there's a course, drones fly, and they take images, right? So this is the data that's collected. But what they've taken images of is some of the targets are QR codes, some are photos, some are material like equipment information. As an example, they had to go to an elevation and take a picture from a window that's a lot of reflection there, and it was an HVAC equipment spec that actually like on the side of an HVAC equipment you would see. Why we did that is because we were trying to see, what it takes actually for collect the data, how long it takes, and then really see the skills. Like we also judged the pilots based on the skills. Now, how does this tie to AI? Eventually, it's all about data, right? Like some pilots did an amazing job with the quality of the images and not reflections, and some stuff like they've taken the QR codes, but they miss like one corner because it wasn't fully aligned. When if you miss the QR code one corner, it's not gonna read, right? So that's one. The same thing with computer vision. Like if you take a picture of a label flying in the air that's like feet above your head, you're doing this and you don't even have line of sight because you have some line of sight, but it's not that clear because you have to look from a small screen. It's really important how you capture the data. What we have learned is skills vary significantly, and even though like we gave the same course to the pilots, even which route they took and how they did it, and each time, we're humans, right? We learn from it. So every time they learned and did one flight, they would do it differently the next time. So again, I think it goes back to quality. Data quality really matters for running vision services, running anything that we're gonna use for artificial intelligence. That's what's one of the key takeaways.
No, that's great, Bertrand. It looked like an outstanding event, and I know you guys were testing and capturing just amazing amounts of data. So appreciate you sharing that with us. Rich, if I throw it over to you, I mean, your job every day is building products. You've done that now with multiple firms. You've got great experience. What do product leaders that are serving the capital intensive industries, how are they harnessing the capabilities of AI? You can talk specifically about what we're doing at Contruent, or just what you're seeing out there in the industry. If you can provide a couple examples, we'd appreciate that.
Yeah, I mean, I can tee off of what Bertrand was describing too. I mean, as a technologist providing solutions into the industry, there's a lot of potential applications for AI in the construction space, and it's all around data, as you said, whether it's data capture, data management, or data insights. And I think we see AI as really currently as an enabling technology, whether that is using some of the underlying tech stack related to natural language processing or generative AI, or that's becomes at the forefront right now in terms of some of the things that are going on, but also just basic logic systems and, as Bertrand said, computer vision, just to name a few of those underlying technologies, and how we lever those in our solutions to make data capture, management, and analysis more effective is really how I see it, and what our strategy really in Contruent is. So some examples, right, might be in a project controls environment, which is what Contruent is. We would look to figure out things like, how do we better predict project outcomes? So, for example, if I'm doing estimating or scheduling or specifically cost forecasting, how can AI can actually be applied leveraging historical information and trend information to do things like better predict cost forecasts. Today, Contruent provides out of the box tons of calculation methods and ways to time phase data, but would it be, we're looking at ways to predict your costs based on the data that you've had for previous projects. We also look at it as just a productivity assist, right? There's lots of workflows and tasks that construction folks are engaged in constantly. if we could provide a better interface and leveraging AI, for example, like a chat bot to as the interface for them to assist their workflows and to pull up information they need to rapidly get through the process in an effective way, that's great. And we're looking into that. And then just things like data insights. We leverage in the industry a lot of well, Excel to do data analytics, but also things like dashboards, reports, business intelligence. But what if I could just use an AI to ask it a question about my projects? Like, hey, what if I want to show me all the projects or tasks or activities that have the risk of being behind schedule or behind cost, and that those insights are just surfaced to me through natural language or a simple kind of chatbot again. Those type of enablements to our existing workflows to make everyone more productive and ultimately make the data more reliable and trustworthy and higher quality are the type of things that we're looking at Contruent and kind of resonate with our customers. Not to mention kind of the last one, which would be things we're looking at around performance optimization, as Bertrand described. How can we use AI to better track progress and feed that into our system through things like computer vision and BIM modeling?
Yeah, Rich, really appreciate that. Bertrand, you guys have two very different viewpoints, right? So Rich is off, building AI capabilities for the Contruent customer base and future customers. But Bertrand, you are always out there testing, right? You've got these wonderful facilities in the US, UK, and in Australia. What are those AI capabilities that you're seeing that the industry should really be excited about? Like what are those ones that you guys have in the labs now that you're just seeing that could be game changer?
Well, I'm gonna tie to what Rich said. One is, first of all, let's classify what artificial intelligence is, a massive field, right? First of all, machine learning has been out there for a long time. It's a great field. You can tie to deep learning. You can do a lot of data, use a lot of data, and come up with some predictions, as Rich said. So that's not a new field. It's been out there for a long time, and I've seen a lot of adoption of it in, I'll say, last 10 years. The second one, I would say, computer vision, right? So that is about recognizing things, counting things. Now I'm seeing more and more, we do like measurements and things like that, progress reporting. So it is getting there. The challenge with that is accuracy of it. It comes to like 90%. The last 10% is pretty challenging to actually achieve, and everyone in the industry who actually deals with the tech knows this. So I'm not saying something new. It's just the challenge of the last 10% is pretty complicated, and we as engineers expect 99.9999, right? So that's our expectations from machines. We have that expectation, so it is getting there, but I'll say it's been a journey. And the next one is, Rich mentioned, large language models, like ability to actually talk to your data. You called it like talk to your cost, talk to your schedule, talk to your plan, talk to your budget, like all those things. I think that's a totally new interface in some ways. That's how I see it. And it's really opening up like new ways to actually run our projects. So if I were to classify those three, I still see there's massive opportunities in machine learning today. What we can do with the existing data and how we can actually harness it. There's a lot happening in computer vision in manufacturing. So, at the lab, we don't just work with construction, we work with 9 industries. And I've seen so many things that Oracle technology help our customers in manufacturing, whether it is high tech, whether it's automotive, whether it is like, they're producing food, like any mass production, right? So there's a lot of technology in the vision that's already being deployed in these factories that is definitely applicable to us. And then I think large language models are, that technology also is not new. It just didn't happen in a year or two. It's been evolving. It's been getting, becoming more mature. I think the biggest change in this time was public actually had access to it before, before I'll say specific industry use cases were actually applied. So that's what created the excitement, and that continues. But I really think that all those three fields has tremendous opportunities for years to come.
Yeah, Richard,
Yeah,
I think you hit,
if I
you hit on
can,
something. Oh, go
if I
ahead,
could
Rich,
just
please.
jump in on that too, around things like large language models, natural language. It's all come to the forefront, but a lot of these technologies are being used in other industries. You mentioned manufacturing, and what's happening from our perspective is, as we build construction technologies, tuning those into the construction space. Because for what it's worth, like the language that we use in construction and the objects that we identify are all getting trained now more than they have in the past. So that's where the software vendor, technology vendors have a good place to play, is take all the work that's been done over the last 10 years in these technologies and tuning it to the problems that we have in the construction space.
No, I think
And
it's
I'll and now that you said it, let me give you a specific example. So I have seen this example where you can, like, materials, right? You call it drywall, blue board. There's so many names to it, right? So we use different things, and they show up different names in schedules. Like, you can easily get a large set of schedules and figure out who built them and which country they're coming from, right? Again, you can easily also see that some people provide a lot of detail and some do not. Like, it is, again, the human factor is so important, and data is unstructured. So I think the key word is unstructured, because a lot of people, when they think about this, they think that, oh, data has to be structured, it needs to be in a certain order. Well, that's not really true anymore. We can actually really use unstructured data and make sense out of things, which is pretty fascinating if you think about it, right? You don't actually have to do that.
If I could pigpile on that with an example that I know you're also really familiar with, Bertrand, is in the computer vision space. It's something I also built in one of my last softwares. Is basically we take tens of thousands of just photos, let alone creating reality models out of those, or doing drone passes to build models. And the biggest problem is that those photos are largely unstructured. And if you want to go, if you heaven forbid, want to go need some backup for some report or a change order, or heaven forbid you end up in a litigation, being able to access a particular photo or event is important. And one of the simple things that is widely usable now is just indexing photos based on the information in the photo itself, because the AI can recognize pipes, rebar, construction equipment. We've been able to OCR things off of photos for a long time. All enable the AI to index that photo in a way that's quickly searchable, and it can be organized and more structured without human interaction. So it's a very simple use case that is actually something that most users trust, that type of AI, whereas in other cases where there's like an engineering output, they are a little less, they're a little more skeptical.
And I'm going to jump in one more time. I know this is the conversation, right? So I'll share a personal experience. Now that I'm in the car, this is even more relevant. I had a small accident like a month ago or so. Luckily, I was driving 10 miles an hour, nothing happened. But the insurance claim process, first of all, going to the website, it guided me through the process. I've seen so many places in the insurance process that actually use computer vision and other algorithms to actually do it. It didn't actually force me to download an app, because most of the time it does, right? It didn't. Everything was native on the browser. At the end, it actually had me do a 360 walk around the car, because I know where that's going, right? We all know where that goes, right? You do 360. It guided me step by step how to do the 360 accurately and capture the right angles so that they can easily build 3D point cloud, right? Like from that data. Now, talking about an industry that, where our audience is asset intensive construction engineering, I'm talking about insurance. I'm talking about personally just going to a website, and then look, it did these things like taking picture of the insurance of the other driver. Well, it automatically recognize everything in that picture. And then the other thing is like, I took pictures of the car. Well, it mapped the car. It looked the underlying data in the photo, and it actually put in the right location on the map. So it used the geodata that's in the picture, right? Like all these things. Typically, like I had like an example. I didn't remember the street name. I don't know what street it was, right? But because the photo is taken, it knows exactly location of the photo from the photo, the underlying data, metadata that's in there. It just actually say to me, is this the right location? I'm like, yeah, it is the right location. You're absolutely right. It took me a second. Like I had to zoom out and say, wait, okay. So many industries are using these now. And I think the example I've given in insurance is like a personal experience. But we are all seeing this, and we might not recognize it's happening, but it's already happening around us. Now, how do we take all this to bring engineering construction? There's so many opportunities. I don't even know where to start. So I think that is becoming very relevant for us.
Right.
Yeah,
And if I can add to that too, I mean, the analogy for construction of your use case is someone an operator just taking us photos of a construction equipment to do, general equipment inspection, at the job site. And then the other thing that, we talked about data capture, but in that example you're talking about, it's using the phone sensors, it's using the photography, it's using the GPS location. There's a lot of kind of IoT and other type of things going on and other technologies that are also just all connected together with AI and other things, which is one of the other interesting, exciting things going on. Is we're talking about AI, but it's just part of a lot of other enabling technologies that are coming together all at the same time.
Yep.
yeah, for sure, guys. Guys, listen, great conversation. You make my job really, really easy. Listen, the CPM schedule is really important to both of our organizations, right? So if you think about what Contruent does with cost schedule integration, the P6 schedule is just a vital part of that. Bertrand, you and your team have, the world's greatest CPM scheduling capabilities that you offer to customers all over the globe. Bertrand, what are you guys seeing in scheduling? What are you, how are you, using and applying, these types of technologies with schedule?
Well, I'm going to share a specific example. So we shared this in September of 23 at the Oracle Cloud World. When you receive a request for proposal, you have to quickly turn around and actually create a schedule. And typically the way it works is you have an estimating department, you have a project management department, you have schedulers. And this is typically a 3 to 5 day exercise, right? But the goal is you need to actually really get quickly a schedule and the cost and all this thing tied together to, to put in your proposal. Well, what we have done is again similar to what Rich said, using multiple technologies, not just large language models, right? So like you'll be able to go to a chatbot and actually upload the request for proposal. So it synthesizes, understands what it is. The chatbot asks you specific questions and like the structure type, certain things. As an example, it recognizes in the RFP that says there's a podium, right? So it reads through it. It actually recognizes certain things, asks you questions, and based on the input you provide, it actually can generate a schedule. Now, this schedule is not something you're going to take and just use it, right? This is your starting point for a scheduler. Typically, when we ask the schedulers what they would do typically today is they would literally go to a P6 schedule, similar project, and then start changing things, right? Like that will take a couple days to basically use an existing schedule to update, create a new one, right? In this method, something can take you 3 days, potentially could take you 3 hours. That's the change, right? it's giving you a good starting point. Again, human is still involved. There is human factor. Schedulers are very, very important. Our knowledge about projects is really important, but it's a good starting point. So this is a great example, I would say, that gives productivity, and also helps to move things along faster, right? Like you're building, responding to an RFP, every minute counts. It's really important, and do your diligence. So you can spend less time, think this way, like the example Rich gave, right? You can spend less time trying to format it and actually align it with the requirements, and more time looking at how can I deliver this project faster? What are the techniques and methods I can use to actually do that? So that's the example I think is really, hopefully will resonate with the audience.
And
Yeah,
I think,
Bertrand, thank you.
and I think if I can add on to that too, it's like it's similar if you asked this a corollary around bidding and estimating, because you can apply some of the same logic and create quick estimates or bids. And it's not just to make it happen faster and have that be the result or a good start. And we see I see kind of the value being like if you're going to do like an estimate in the past, you do your quantity takeoff, you build estimates, and you'd usually have two people doing the same estimate at the same time. So you can do quality verification and make sure that you don't have human errors and omissions in the process by doing it twice. Well, that process that Bertrand described, either for scheduling or for estimating, could just be a verification of what a human might do in terms of am I in the right range, instead
Yep.
of not just relying on it as to get the answer. And I see that resonating with a lot of our customers because it means they can be more productive. They only need one person to do it, and they may have multiple people doing estimates, but instead of another person or team building the schedule or estimate just to do validation.
Yeah, fantastic, guys. As we're coming down to the end here, I do have really two more questions I want to squeeze in before the time is up. Guys, if we exclude drones, because obviously drones, in my humble opinion, are robotics, and we know the use cases, and most large capital projects have drones in use and capabilities. Well, where do you see robotics going? Bertrand, I'll start with you. You've had tested various robotics for the industry. What would your prediction be on robotics in the next couple of years? Where do you see it going?
I see massive investment on humanoid robots, which is, when you say humanoid, they form factor, they look like us, right? And massive investments, a lot of research done. And again, this is another field that's been researched for decades, but the changes in last 2 years, especially 12 months, has been quite fascinating. And think about it, our job sites are designed for humans, right? It's designed for us to walk around and move things around and all this. I think that is my guess, is that's coming in next couple of years. That is going to have a impact. How much, how big, in what it is, time will tell. But I see it really moving fast, and this is probably one of those that we need to keep an eye on.
Yeah, Rich, I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Rich, any feedback on that?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think the human-like robotics is pretty interesting. I think that the drones and even like kind of the data capture is a great use case for robotics. I'm going to spin it a little bit differently into align to more of my background too, around civil projects, where we've been doing like things like machine controlled, machine guided earthworks, but that is an area that's calling for full autonomy in terms of the driver is really adds a lot of the cost to that type of equipment if they can eliminate the driver and have it be completely autonomous, and it's like you basically have a full robotics driven GPS model driven earthworks solution. It's very similar to a huge, large scale CNC machine where you can have the AI actually program the most productive path of earthworks and then let a robotics tool, like a heavy piece of machinery driven by the model and GPS, actually carve out the earth for a CNC program. And that's what I find really interesting. We've been using machine control automation for a long time, and that's the next evolution in terms of robotics and AI on the for like large earthwork moving projects.
That's great, Rich. Thank you. Guys, listen, we are just about at time. I do want to end it with one final question I want both of you to answer. If we were to have this call in 12 months, what would the AI headline be? So I know you both have articulated that things are moving super fast, but what would it be? What would the headline be in 12 months? Bertrand, we'll start with you.
So I'm not going to do a technology prediction. I'm going to do something different. Typically what, we do that. I think adoption. My prediction is there's going to be a lot more adoption. There's going to be a lot more embedment of these technologies in the applications. We're doing it. Industry is also doing the same. So I think adoption, we're going to start seeing a lot of adoption of the technology itself, and not even recognize that actually that's the technology. It's just going to become more and more embedded into our applications.
I was going to say the exact same thing. The AI technology is going to continue to advance very rapidly, and it's just going to find its way into almost every construction software in general that we have, but it'll be very subtle, and users won't always necessarily know that some workflows are being driven by AI. It'll just become a common case, and just very pervasive in how they use software solutions, among other technologies.
Yeah, guys, I appreciate it. Listen, I think for me, this is the one technology that no matter if you're at the dinner table or if you're at the board meeting or a business meeting, everyone is talking about it. And I think that's the uniqueness of it. And Bertrand, you hit on it earlier, where the consumers, if we would call them that, right? The people not even in various industries, right? They're hit with AI every day talking about it. Bertrand, you gave a great use case of your insurance example. I mean, it's around everyone, in business or out of business. So I think that's part of the challenge. There's a lot of conversation. And guys, listen, we just scratched the surface on this today, and I appreciate it. You guys have shared some amazing insights. I want to thank you both for joining. I know you're busy, Bertrand. I really appreciate you. I know you went out on, took a little extra leap for us today. You had a conflict in your day, and you ended up joining us from the car. Man, I appreciate it. Most would have just said, "Hey, I can't do it. We need to reschedule." But I knew you wouldn't do that to us. I knew you would find a way, and I really appreciate it. For the audience, I really want you to pick this conversation up in our social network, right? So in our social media channels, let's continue the conversation. Rich and Bertrand both have agreed to do that. So if you've heard something you want to double click on, please do that in social. We'll be back again at the end of April. We're lining up a very special guest for the April True Talks webinars episode. We're really excited about that, and we're going to do these monthly. And again, the format is just to really go deep, be authentic, and let's talk about topics that matter to the industries we serve. Guys, thank you both, man. Really appreciate your time and efforts today, and be safe, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.